Okay. So, good morning. Welcome you in the course of outcome based pedagogic principle for effective teaching. So, the word itself said that what kind of pedagogic principle we should use or what kind of teaching learning process we should use, outcome based process we should use, so that the teaching learning is effective. So, this course will be taught in 10 hours lecture hours. So, there will be 20 lectures for half an hour each, and this course will be myself. I will take some lectures and some lectures will be taken by Dr. Tamali Bhattacharya, and the course deal with that Bloom taxonomy, assessment and evaluation, outcome based curriculum design, accreditation, and how this outcome based curriculum design or a pedagogic kind of pedagogic principle can increase the effectiveness of the teaching learning. And we will discuss how we will do this thing during the course. Now, if you see that what is the outcome of the course? Outcome of the course is that at the end of this whole course, whole 10-hour lectures, 10 lecture hours, you should able to write the outcome based curriculum objective, or you say the outcome based course objective, module objective and unit objective based on the Bloom taxonomy. Second outcome is that you should able to develop the test item which will relate to those objectives. So, how to write down the correct test item to relate to that objective. Most of the cases, if we find examination system, we given write a short note on this thing. Why this kind of test item is not correct, we will discuss. What kind of modification is required, we will discuss. So, at the end of the course, you should able to write the correct test item for the correct objective. Next, you can plan or you can design your course curriculum which required for NBA or Washington accreditation. Not only that, you can use that how this can help to teach effectively in the large classroom. So, in a large classroom, what kind of teaching learning process I should use, so that teaching is effective, we will discuss. Then you should able to design that evaluation method which will not only that take the test of the students or assign the grade, which will reinforce the teaching learning. How that assessment system is held to reinforce the teaching learning process also will be discussed. Now, before I go to the course, can you think what is that yesterday world of education? That means, I am saying yesterday means before the Google came. Today, I can search anything in the Google. If I search any keyword, Google will give some reply, some material will come out. Any topic you search in the Google, there will be hundreds of video lectures, hundreds of PowerPoint presentation, hundreds of web contents are available. So, we are not discussing about how to generate the content. So, content is available. So, this is the difference. Yesterday means before the Google has come, before those kind of material is freely available or widely available in the net, we called it yesterday education. And that time what is there? If we if you see that we can correlate that the same thing we are also following today. So, today change is required. What kind of yesterday education was there? Now, in that days the education material is very costly. Student cannot afford to buy a very you can say the costly book, or you can say that this kind of today right now today if you ask my daughter, he can search anything from the net. Once I said what is the meaning of this word, he says just wait, I will type in the Google and Google will give you the meaning. So, not that kind of material is not available. Information was expensive. That is why with the whatever the teacher said, we write down the note. So, it is teacher centric. The teacher deliver the information to the student and student write down as a class note and give exam, that kind of things. But today the teacher, if a teacher said okay, I will write down some information, students say okay, this is available in the Google. So, why I waste my time to attending in the class? So, that kind of things is available. So, yesterday that is not available, that is why student come and write down the teacher's lecture note. Next one, in a lecture student assume purely passive role, student does not have an active role. Teacher came in the class, like most of the cases it is happens, like some teacher is teaching about that second order differential equation, he came in the blackboard and write some problem in the blackboard one corner and try to solve it whole blackboard. So, it is a kind of passive role of the student, there is no interaction, not all cases, but some cases the interaction is very limited. Teacher often continuously talk for an hour without knowing student response and feedback. Teacher just deliver the information, teacher thought, student learn and teacher gone. More emphasis has been given on the theory without any practical and real life time situation. Not all the cases, most of the cases like that. Learning for memorization, but not skill. Skill is not there, we will just learn from the memorization. And the advantage yesterday education was there, that is minimum number of students was very less in the class. If you say why that earlier education system was so good in spite of all those drawbacks, number of students. If you see number of students in a class maybe 30, 20, so teachers know which student is coming in the class, which is not coming in the class, he can read the face while explaining something, whether the students is achieving responding to that things or not. So, those kind of facilities available, but if this same practice if I follow today, I cannot say that I only take a class for 30 students, it is not possible, there is a large number of students. So, tomorrow education or today education system, large variety of, first one is a large variety of high quality learning resources available in the net. If you say anything, it is available in the net. So, if you come in the class with a PowerPoint presentation and describing that presentation, none of the student will interested to receive that information, because they already search it and they got it and the information is available in the net. Then say, why I attend this class? Okay, that class I can get the video lecture, better video lecture from the MIT website. Those professor is given a better lecture than this professor. So, why I will go to that class? This is available. This is the true fact. Large variety of high quality learning resources is available in the net. Learner centric, flip teaching to be the norms. So, if the students is not coming, students will come on the class. See, this is happening in most of the cases. Average attendance rate of across the institute are decreasing. Most of the student teacher complaining that attendance rate of the class is average below 60%. Then I asked some few students that why you are not interested to attend the class. Then student said me, sir, can you give it two very concrete evidence that why should I attend this class? Some of the class is just, if you say the teacher come with a PowerPoint presentation, display the presentation and read it in that presentation. So, why you come to the class? So, there is no interaction, no discussion, nothing is there. So, we have to take the note. So, note, why I take the note in the class, that is available in the Google, better I learn from the Google is sitting in the hostels. So, why I go to the class? So, that means the learner centric approach is required. So, it is no longer a teacher centric approach. What I will deliver, student will learn, this is not mandatory. The student will demand that I want to learn this thing, I am unable to or you can say I have a misconception on this problem only. So, student will demand that I want this kind of skill from the teachers. So, that is learner centric. So, it is not only the information, nobody interested about that how many theorem you have remembered, how many law you have remembered, if I do not have the how to apply those law in real life problem. So, student will come that yes, I have this, I want to acquire this skill. As a teacher, can you suggest me some very good material, or can you clarify me what kind of technology is used here, what kind of methodology is used to overcome this kind of situation. So, that means they demand discussion in the class, that is learner centric, student demand, then flip teaching. Instead of delivering by the teacher, they want that we want discussion on this issue only. So, that is the flip teaching. Then class size. You cannot restrict the class. Today, I cannot say in my institute that okay, I will not take the more than 30 students. Institute will not say no, it is not happening. You have to take a class of 200 students. So, if I take a class of 200 students, what is happening? If a 200 student large class, the large classroom. So, in a large classroom, 200 students, I cannot take the attendance. If I take the attendance of the 200 student name call, it will take time. I cannot remember the face of the students. I cannot read the face of the students, whether the students are following the lecture or not. So, if a 200 student class, average attendance is 60%, and then some of the students who are sitting in the back bench, they will do the Facebook, because they say the teacher is saying same information, that information is available in the Google. So, do not follow the teacher lecture, what teacher is saying. So, you are since your attendance is carrying 5% marks and you will be deregistered, you will by force is coming in the class and doing Facebook and sitting in the back bench. So, effectively he is not attending in the class. So, that is the main problem. How do you teach a large classroom with all students attending with the all students? So, this is a very challenging problem. So, I will define that problem in the next slide, and then we will discuss how to overcome this kind of problem. Knowledge growing at faster rate. Today if you see, today I taught something, next semester I have to modify it, because this is knowledge is faster rate it is going. ICT tools, how do I use that ICT tool make my teaching is more effective? Not that PowerPoint, yes, PowerPoint is one kind of ICT tools. So, what kind of ICT tools I should use, in what way I should use, so that the teaching is become effective. Next, learning is no longer a one time affair. I have to taught the students learning to learn. How do you taught them? Then student must learn to their own, that is the important issue, that a student should learn by their own. That habit has to be practices, not spoon feeding. Spoon feeding practice is not required, because at the end of that program they have to learn by themselves. So, that skill has to be developed. So, how to this kind of, those are the dimension of today's education systems. So, what are the challenges based on those dimensions? The challenges are how to improve the student engagement. I am saying that one of the major issue in today's education system is the how to improve the student engagement. If you ask any student that let us take subject X, any subject, if you ask most of the cases it is true that if you ask any student how many days you have studied this subject to get a grade A or get a 80% marks, his answer will be simply, sir, mid semester, before mid semester 5 to 6 days and before end semester 5 to 6 days. So, why I taught the subject for 6 months? If I say, let us for the graduate engineer, there is a 8 semester and average engagement of the student is 10 days per semester. So, if you say 4 year 8 semester, 8 into 8, 10, 80 days. So, they only engage 80 days in the along the 4 year to get a degree, BTech degree. So, what kind of student engagement we have talking about it? A student claiming that he can get a 80% marks, or it is practices among the students, many courses, many discipline, many institute it is practices, that a student can say or student can claim that I can get the 80% marks of this course by only studying the 10 days. So, why I have to taught the student for the 4 year? That means something is as a serious mistake, some serious mistakes we have done, so that we have not engaged the student throughout the semester and we only student is engaged just beginning of the examination, because their main agenda is to how to get pass the subject and how to get a grade. Most of the cases, if you see that okay, students are just giving the exam and forgot everything. Many cases, if you see the grand viva, if you ask any students how many subjects you have studied, just told the name of the subject, he is not able to tell all the name of the subject. That means his engagement was very temporary, and his engagement was so less that he cannot develop anything on that engagement. But today, what is required in industry or today world is required the skill set. How to equip a students with a 21st century knowledge, skill and attitude. How to equip the student with 21st century knowledge, skill and attitude. How do I do that? What kind of skill? That means, if I say I am a BE engineer civil, then I have to prove as a BE engineer civil I have this skill which other person does not. That is why I am a BE engineer in civil. So, any study, any course, suppose you said that okay, I have attended this course. Why I have attended this course? To get a certificate? If you attend this course for a certificate, my advice is do not attend this course. If you not use this knowledge in your practical life, that means skill. If you does not have any skill is acquired by this course, then the objective of this course is total zero. So, if you say I study mathematics to pass the exam, then why I study mathematics? So, I get a certificate, and that certificate is that my characteristics, that I am a civil engineer, I have only certificate. If you say that same example is given in skill development program by our present prime minister, then if you say that you cannot say that I am BE civil, that is not your tagline. You can say I have this skill which any other person does not have. That is why I am a BE in civil engineer. I can do this thing, and that differentiate me from the others. That is why I have get a degree, that BE in civil. See, the government has taken initiative of MOOC. What is the basic objective of the MOOC? It is not to provide a certificate, okay, you have a great 90% in analog electronics, and later on if I ask you, can you design a push pull amplifier? He said, no sir, I studied it, but I forgot it after the exam. That kind of education is not required for 21st century. So, I cannot say I offer a subject on MOOC and okay, I give you this MOOC subject, you follow this subject, solve some mathematics and give an exam and get a 90% grade without any skill. I am not happy that grade will do anything on you. I will show you one philosophy that I will show you right now, that suppose this philosophy if you want, which picture you will be like much more? Are you carrying the education or education will carry you? If you are a Bengali and if you studied that Tagore's, long back Tagore said that we are only carry the education, but education are not carrying us. If you say that Tagore writing, it is like that, শিক্ষাকে আমরা বহন করিয়াই চলিলাম বাহন করিতে পারিলাম না. That means we are carrying the education. So, lot of book, lot of formula, lot of theory, lot of exam, a lot of grade card, everything is there, but in practically I do not have any skill. So, that means we are carrying the education in our back. We have studied this Milman Halkias, this book, I have studied this Tafsiling, this digital communication book. lot of theory, Shannon's theory, I know that all those kind of theory, but when somebody give me some simple problem, I am not able to solve it, then whole education is totally junk. I can say the whole education is totally junk. So, in that case, what I required? We have to develop the skill and attitude. As a teacher, my responsibility to provide a lectures or to follow a teaching learning process which can develop the skill and attitude which is required by the 21st century. Some students are there, if you say they got 90% marks, but if you give them some simple complex problem or a tough attitude is required, they break down. So, not only the skill, also I require attitude, positive attitude. I should not be a civil engineer, what will happen, what will happen, what will happen. That kind of attitude is not required. We require a bold attitude with a prominent skill. So, I have to equip the students with a bold attitude and prominent skill, not the only knowledge, some information, some theory, some grade and some marks. It is not true. So, how to do that things which is required for 21st century education? Then continuous improvement in curriculum, incorporate of better open educational resources, more effective teaching, ensure the outcome of education, create industry ready engineer. I am talking about the perspective of the technical education. If you say industry say that, oh, what about the engineer you are producing are not employable, they does not have any skill, they does not know this thing, that thing. So, many kinds of objection we are finding. And as a teacher I said, yes, they should know the basic, they should know this basic. So, everybody offering a subject, introduction to the basic of this thing. So, I am saying what skill they have acquired, which will be used in industry to solve their problem. So, I cannot say, okay, I will teach a curriculum which I have prepared in 1947 and I follow the same curricula today also. I cannot do that, because if I do that, then the industry will say that, okay, like that. If you see that example given by our present PM, same I just can quote. He said he visited an automobile engineering education institute, and there also they have taughting a model which is totally obsolete. So, why do you require that knowledge? So, I can say, how do I continuously improve my curricula or the skill set which I want to develop on the students with the active collaboration of the industry, so that later on they should not say, okay, I cannot, your engineers are not employable, your students does not know anything about this thing. So, as per the requirement with the active feedback from the industry, can I modify my curriculum? Not only the objective, but also the resources. Suppose I said today I taught some course which is directly, I can give an example that I taught a embedded system course. Okay. So, there is some modern tools are there. So, that is used by my engineers. So, now I do not know anything about that tools, and a student is pass out. He joined that institute and industry and find he cannot do anything, because he does not know the tools. Now, I should get an active feedback from the industry that today embedded system is moving in this direction. Those are the modern tools which are coming out. So, they should share this to institute also. So, if they share it, then as a teacher, I can use it effectively in my whole lecture, and I can claim that my student has a skill set which is required by this industry. So, what industry ready engineer, NESCOM or NESCOM is saying that how do you create the industry ready engineer, and we are inviting some industry person in institute, and he give a lecture from day 1, and after the end of the lecture everything is forgot. But we want how do you collaboratively develop an active sharing platform by which as a teacher I should be clearly stated that end of this curriculum they will develop those skills. Now industry can comment, okay, I require this skill but not this skill. Then the institute jurisdiction which kind of skill set they should want to promote in their students for which purpose. Very clearly said. Then I can say each and every course curriculum must be continuously modifiable, more resources can be added in any time, more kind of real life problem can be added by the industry. So, what kind of teaching learning process and framework we should use so that this can be enabled. At the end of this course you can see that IIT Kharagpur propose a framework, that framework allow you to do this kind of things. Next one, ensure examination system reinforce teaching and learning. I can ask you one question, why there is a evaluation system in our education system? So, I will cover that what is assessment, evaluation, what kind of evaluation use in which area, that later on I will cover it. But today I can ask you that if I say that why we have a end semester exam, mid semester exam, class test, assessment, evaluation, why that are there? Why you use this evaluation system? The purpose of the evaluation system is not to provide the grade to the students. This is a byproduct. If I say some doctors prescribe you test your blood, then you test the blood, then found that your sugar is 190. Okay, sugar is 190. If I have not prescribed the medicine to go it down, then the loop is not closed. So, if I say I examine a student, student is fail. What is the purpose of the examination system? I examine a student, he okay 35% is the pass mark, he got a pass. Think about this kind of situation, a student who got a 35 marks in an examination, that means he only know know means wisdom, knowledge. He has a knowledge or wisdom about the 35% of the syllabus and he promoted to the next class. So, suppose I got an analog electronics, I fail, or teacher give me pass mark P and I promoted to third year, go for VLSI design. So, should I say that I will better in VLSI design, not in analog electronics? So, that means the purpose of the examination system is not to provide the grade to the students, that may be byproduct, that is required for distinguish or listing my student in a class, that okay, this is 90% boy, this is 80% boy, 70% boy. So, purpose of the examination system to find out what kind of skill set they have not acquired. In target I said at the end of the course you have this skill, this skill, this skill, this skill. The purpose of the examination system to find out whether the student has acquired those skill or not. If they have not acquired those skill, then I have to find out a method that either there may be a problem in teaching learning process, but what kind of teaching learning process I have used, that may be problematic. I have to change that means reinforce that, or the skill which I have defined may be not achievable. Somebody may say that in one course the student will able to design a rocket. Can I say that in one course the student will able to design a rocket? Somebody, many of you are writing objective, student will able to design a filter, design a digital filter. Are you think what kind of digital filter are they able to, the whole digital filter can be covered in a maybe one module? No. So, if your skill are clearly achievable and you test that and you found that those are the skills student has not acquired, then there is a serious problem in your teaching learning process. And if your skill is not achievable, whatever the teaching learning process you follow, it cannot be achieved. So, the purpose of the examination system is not to provide the grade to the students only, it is reinforce the teaching learning. How many of the teachers we have, after grading the paper, we forgot, okay, grade is done, okay, you A, B, C, the grade is done and then you destroy the paper. How many of us are examining the paper and find out what kind of problems students are generally missing and what kind of misconceptions are there on the students, and as a teacher I should analyze those kind of misconceptions, and then I thought that what is the mistake in teaching learning process or what is the mistake in my course outcome. Then I have to correct that for the next batch. I am not saying the same batch, and I also advise the batch that look, those are the problem you have not able to solve, that means those skill you do not have, please acquire those skill before you go to the next class. I will say, I will come that I will say that learning is the learner responsibility, not the teacher responsibility. Then ensure lifelong learning. One of the main objective in 21st century education is that I have to ensure that learner learn by himself, that habit is created, that means that kind of skill set is developed, that a student is able to grab the subject by himself or herself, that means self learning ability. Everything if you spoon feed, I take a course and I solve some same problem and same problem come in the exam and I said write a short note on this. If you see that today what is practicing, that English honors, Calcutta University, or I am not saying that Calcutta University, let us any institute, English honors, these teachers, this lecture note, this kind of note, they prepared a note, this kind of question, this is the note. Student just remember that things in the end of the exam, he give that exam, after the exam everything is forgot. Is it create the self learning ability? No, not at all. So, I have to don't spoon feed the students. If you spoon feed, so this is the same. If I can give an example of 3 Idiots movie, that this is a training, that okay, I can say that write an essay on this topic and he remember that topic in essay and give the exam. That is nothing but a training. Memorize that things and give it. After that is forgotten. Everything is forgettable. Most of the cases in our, if you see BTech courses, if you ask anything in the final year, any first year courses, yes, I forgot it. Why he forgot it? Because he studied it as an examination system and he only remember for the get the marks. He does not develop any skill set, and question paper also does not test the skill set, only test his memorization ability, and that is why he get a 90% marks. At the end of that exam he forgot everything. This does not ensure the self learning ability. So, what kind of teaching learning process we should follow, so that it can ensure that the skill set of self learning ability is developed on that student. Then I have to teach a large class, that will be a huge class, 300 students class, 400 student class. Now, what are the difficulties? If you scientifically analyze the difficulties, since there is a 400 students, whatever that your entrance exam, whatever that filter is there, there will be a different kinds of learning ability of the different students. So, ability of learning ability of the students will be different or varies from students to students. Learning style will vary from students to students. Learning approaches will vary from students to students. All those things will be taught in this course. That what do you mean by learning style, learning approaches, and learning style, learning approaches, and learning ability. So, I have a 400 student class. Every student has its own learning style, learning ability, and learning approaches. Some students are surface learners, some students are deep learners, some students have a very good ability, some students has a less ability. So, all kinds of distribution will be there in the class. Now, imagine as a teacher, if I want to scatter to each and every student, what kind of teaching learning process I should follow. It is happening. If you see, if you come in the class and take a lecture, some student will follow, some student will do Facebook, some student will say that no, this is a boring subject and I have to get the pass mark in the subject, I have sufficient, so forget about the subject. Okay, let us take the last year question paper, and this teacher has followed this kind of pattern and do the exam and pass it. So, total wastage of time, total wastage of resources, total wastage of student time, teacher time, institute resources. So, what kind of teaching learning process should I follow, so that I can ensure that all the 400 students are engaged in my class and all the 400 students moderately achieve my requirement. I am not saying that all students will be achieved, because learning is the learner responsibility. If learner does not want to learn, a teacher cannot teach the subject. So, that means what I as a teacher, but I should very clear that this kind of pedagogy, learning pedagogy or learning approaches should cater to all students, and as a teacher I will able to draw attention of every student. On the other hand, I can say that every student is actively engaged in this course throughout the whole semester. So, that is my requirement. How do you do that things? Okay. Next one, this I have already discussed. The question for engineering education, what is, let's say that NESCOM said that create industry ready engineer. Nobody defined. What do you mean by industry ready engineer? Some chemical engineering plants say, okay, the students should know that everything in my chemical engineering plant. Some software industries say, no, students should very good in C programming, somebody say na Java programming, somebody say na Pascal programming. So, as a educational institute, where I should scatter? Think about that, can I not do something that as a institute I can say that my student will develop those are the skill set, I am intended to develop this skill set on my students. Now, it is free to industry to modify or to suggest the which are the mistakes we have made, what kind of modification they are willing to do it, and what kind of resources they want to share us, so that we can develop the desired a common skill set. So, what kind of methodology we should use to achieve this kind of goal? I will show you a methods by which yes, this can be achievable. So, this is the whole lecture principle, that we should encourage the students not carrying the education, but education should carry them. So, how do you do that? That is the whole summary of this class, that or whole course. How do you taught effectively to the student, so that they have developed their skill set, they have developed their attitude, they have also developed their knowledge, and by after they have pass out from this institute, they should reflect those skill set, and the industry will be happy, as a educational institute also happy. Okay. So, next class I will talk about the accreditation.